Welcome in to the first Get Wise Family Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host and now part-time fantasy football podcaster and your favorite commissioner, Roman Lesage. I made this just so we can have some family group, something to listen to, watch, that we can enjoy together. Um, Hopefully it'll inspire some chat, conversation, and maybe even some trash talk for you, Dad. And maybe even possibly, if you'll take it, a little bit of knowledge from me. I spend a lot of time doing this. So, NFL news. This is the first thing we'll talk over. So, recently, NFL, Tre'Davious White, the All-Pro cornerback for the Buffalo Bills, has been found to be put on the reserve PUP list. This means you won't be able to play for some of the beginning time in the NFL, and that has some big impact um, in his first few games, specifically Week 1. They'll be playing the Rams. Now, the Los Angeles Rams, as you know, won the Super Bowl last year with their star receiver, Cooper Kupp. Tre'Davious White not being there is a very big matchup change. Now, since Cooper Kupp isn't there, Cooper Kupp won't have a star corner. He'll probably have a very large week. Also moving down the list of the wide receivers, they'll be far more. They'll be far better in fantasy football that week, most likely. And as well, the Buffalo Bills will have to put up more points because the Rams will have to put up more points. So that's a very good matchup to watch. High fantasy volume all around. Next, Dameon Pierce. Well done, Leo, for drafting this guy. He is now the RB1 after Marlon Mack has now been officially released by the Texans. Now he's probably going to be re-signed to their practice squad, but nobody cares about Marlon Mack. He's been gone and done for years. Dameon Pierce, I think he's a top 24 running back. I assume Leo does as well. Texans are a high running volume team. Good pickup. Garoppolo and Lamar have two possible new contract records. As everyone knows, Garoppolo plays for the 49ers. He was on the Pretty Boys roster a few years back. And I now have his old backup, now starter, Trey Lance. Garoppolo was the quarterback last year. Trey Lance was sitting on the bench. So now that Trey Lance has moved up, Garoppolo is going to be the highest paid bench player in NFL history now. Most likely going to be upwards of $30 million in a yearly salary. This is terrible for the Niners. They've been stuck in a dead cap hole with him for a while, and they've been trying to find a way out. Nobody even wanted him, not even the Seattle Seahawks, the Saints, any other team with a weak quarterback. He didn't go to the Panthers earlier, so it's looking pretty rough for the Niners and Garoppolo. However, other big contract news of quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, 225 estimated contract for the Ravens. This is great for all Ravens receivers and most Ravens players, probably not the running game, rip J.K. Dobbins, but Lamar getting 225 mil secures him as a fantasy asset for years to come, but also Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman. I forget who has Mark Andrews at the moment. I apologize. Maybe I'll remember at some point. But great job. Whoever has those players, you're going to be really successful. I know, Morgan, you had Lamar. He was actually supposed to hold out after week 1 if he didn't get that contract. So very lucky for you. Finally, Darren Waller. Pardon me. I believe Travis has Darren Waller. Darren Waller will now be playing, most likely the first week, coming back, looking good in practice. So as this Kadarius Toney is now looking 100%. Good for you, James. I know you have him on your later spots. And Jalen Reagor to the Vikings. This could have some impact for receivers and running game for the Vikings. Just decreased target volume, probably not too much. Justin Jefferson will still be fine. Moving on from that, I would like to take the liberty of giving you a segment called Roman's Rankings. Now, this is simply post-draft rankings, and take it with a grain of salt. This is what I was able to determine from these few moments that I've had after the draft to where I can figure out who I like the best, who I like worst. This is currently 8:56 on a Wednesday afternoon, so the 31st of August. So at this point, I'd just like to say, tell me what you hate, tell me what you like, in the comments. I think this is coming out on YouTube, or in our family group chat, or in the Yahoo group chat. So let me know. Tell me what you hate. Tell me what you love. Who's the biggest snub? Who's the biggest reach? First, Booger Bears. James. He had a killer draft. He had a lot of people fall to him in places that he needed. I'm going to bring up his team really fast on the other side of my monitor. But James had an absolutely monster draft. Getting Mahomes early. Very successful. Strong receiver core with Debo. A little weaker with Judy later on, but his running backs are very strong with Austin Eckler, Kamara. And getting Josh Jacobs late is very strong just because Kenyon Drake got released. So amazing. High volume for those guys. George Kittle on his roster as well. Very good tight end volume. Also strong bench. So James, well done. Second, I know it seems a little bit odd, but I plugged in myself. I apologize for all you who thought you were going to be second. It's the way of the road. So second, I picked my team simply because I feel that I had a lot of players fall to me. I got lucky that way. Did not think my team was going to be this good this year, but a lot of players fell. I was able to scoop them up. That's simply it. Third, in maybe surprising way, maybe not. I don't know how you feel. Sarah had an absolutely killer draft. Amazing. We were saying this. I remember Leo and I said this at the time. Sarah was pulling away head and shoulders above a lot of people. She had an absolutely dominant draft. Specifically, amazing receiver core. And the big win that got her right on that third spot was her selection of, I believe it was the Cowboys tight end. He is the final tight end in my tier, Dalton Schultz. Final end in my sixth tier, sixth overall tight end in my tier. That's an absolute snag right before you get to the sort of garbage in the tight end list. So amazing job. Well done using the draft capital there. Fourth, I have Travis, the newcomer to the league, the guy that's got to prove himself, so he's done a good job with that draft. He wasn't able to beat out Sarah and me simply because of his second flex, Cam Akers. Now, Sean McVay has been used to running that single running back system with players like Todd Gurley, who have been very successful throughout their career. And even you saw it last year with Darrell Henderson. But now, Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers are set to be the split backfield. Not good. Having that as your flex player just doesn't get you to reach above those teams. Cam Akers is still a great player. He's coming off that ACL. There's a lot of ACL we're going to learn about this year, especially through my team. I have Saquon and CMC, two players that are coming off an ACL injury and an ankle injury as well for Saquon. So I'm riding on it as well. Cam Akers had a very fast recovery, but currently splitting the backfield with Darrell Henderson being in a healthier position at the moment. So just something to be worried about. Not too big, though. In the fifth position, I have Ian's team, simply because an amazing wide receiver core. I believe Mike Evans was your 2. Come on. That's easy. Great job on that. Sixth, I have Leo. He would have been higher on the list. He knows exactly why, and you probably do already as well. He has awful tight end game going on. I believe his current starter is the second tight end for the Browns, David Njoku. Try and give him a trade. It might help you out as well. He's got a lot of good bench players as well. So, good draft. Just needs someone to start in that position because in a 10-team league, that's very important. Seventh, surprisingly this low for as good as a team as it was, Captain Jim. The only thing is, I would have actually had him higher, but in a long season like this, and injuries, of course, and you want consistency in a lot of your games, he is slightly too volatile. Two examples of these 2 players is Gabe Davis and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt had some games over 30 and went back to like 3 points. Gabe Davis, consistently very low target volume throughout the year, even though they did lose a lot of their higher target volume receivers last year. It's like Beasley, high target volume at the beginning of the season, dropped steadily throughout. Gabe Davis' target volume increased. Then he had a 50-point game. Gabe Davis, 222 yards, I believe, 4 touchdowns and 7 receptions. Amazing game. 50-something points. Now his fantasy value has skyrocketed. Hope it stays there. Hope he's consistent for you, Dad. However, I wanted to take him as well. Possibly just too much volatility on that team. Could have some amazing games at 200 points. Could have some terrible games less than 80. So, we'll see. Next is Morgan's team in the number 8. pretty solid. Just a little weak on the later flex. I forget exactly who it was that you got, but flex and tight end just simply wasn't strong enough to get you higher. As well as that, next we have the Argos. Weaker tight end, just like most, and questionable RB2 selection, Elijah Mitchell. Just because of that, had to put you down a little bit. Elijah Mitchell could be in a sharing volume with Kyle Shanahan. That's what he enjoys. He wasn't able to do it last year because there was a lot of injuries. Trey Sermon has apparently upheld his draft value this year in training camp. Being a first or second round selection last year, really important for some guy like that to be successful. And finally, John L's Peerless team. When you have 2 kickers before the 13th round, come on. It's just how it's going to work. You need more skill players. Let me know what you think about this. Not final. Only beginning of the season. Simply a draft. That's where we're at right now. But I thought I'd give you a shot and let you know. Next, overall, actually, 4 through 9, everywhere after Sarah and going into John L's at number 10. John L's Fearless team at 10. Very close. Very close. It was difficult to decide through there. That's my roommate, Zach, if you heard that. Next, another segment that I like to call matchups and rivalry games. This week, everything is divisional, so it matters just that little bit more. We'll see this another few times throughout the season. The first 4 games of the season will actually all be divisional games. Next, so first, actually, we're going to start off with this week's rivalry game. The important one, I'd say, and I feel like you might agree with that as well. It's going to be Captain Jim versus John O's Peerless team. Now, based on my rankings before, Captain Jim was 7th, John O's Peerless team was 10th. Now, I'm going with Captain Jim's team this week simply because of the matchups here. Cooper Kupp against Buffalo. Again, we saw that Tre'Davious White is gone, but again, it's high-power offense. I'm going to guess Cooper Kupp goes for 20 high, probably not 30 low. Could be good. Might have to use that to push it over the team's edge, however. But the thing that gets Captain Jim going is the A.J. Brown versus Detroit could be a blowout if Jalen Hurts starts throwing the ball instead of running. Derrick Henry versus the New York Giants. They're a bottom 5 team in the run game last year, defending the run game specifically. And Kelce against Arizona, who were the worst team against tight ends last year. He should go for an absurd amount with Patrick Mahomes. Next game, by the way, that is 100% Captain Jim in that for me. This game is what I am going to call the weekly upset of the week. Number 3 Just Average against number 9 Argos. Now, just by that, I assume that you figured out that the Argos is my pick to win this, just again because of matchups. The Argos have 3-player Tampa Bay stack. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be playing the Dallas Cowboys in their opening game. Last year, the Dallas Cowboys played the Chiefs in the opening game of the season, and it was an absolute blowout. Points everywhere. The Chiefs went crazy. Now, I believe specifically the Argos have Tom Brady, Mike Evans, and Leonard Fournette. Now, last year, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, his only really good game of the season was a 21 or 22-point outing against the Cowboys in the first game of the season. Leonard Fournette should shatter that. In that game, they're going to get a lot of close drives in the red zone. Brady will hit a lot of nice passes. Mike Evans is a very high red zone target. So I assume that between those players, they'll at least get 50, 60 points, and then it should be wraps from there. So that one goes to the Argos in the upset of the week. This one, Clash of the Titans, sort of, in my previous rankings. Booger Bears and the Owls. Now, I had the Booger Bears ranked at 1, and my team, the Owls, ranked at 2. I had the Booger Bears winning this, again, because of matchups. Patrick Mahomes for the Booger Bears is going to end up playing, once again, is going to end up playing the Arizona Cardinals, the 32nd overall team against quarterback position in fantasy last year. Should be another blowout, absolute destruction in fantasy. Austin Eckler against Las Vegas, another bad team last year against the run. And Debo against Chicago, should be a slaughterhouse there. I also have CMC, Christian McCaffrey against the Browns, and Saquon against Tennessee. Bad running back matchups. Should be a cakewalk for James. Next, Battle of the Baby Bros. This is my toss-up of the week. Could go either way easily in any direction. Leo, number 6, against Ian's number 5 team. This is going to Ian, however. Jonathan Taylor against Houston. That's all you need to know. Should be a slaughterhouse. And the other thing is Jalen Hurts against Detroit could work out in Leo's favor or not. If the Eagles get far enough in the lead, they might just slam it up the run game and not let Jalen Hurts do his fourth quarter fantasy football miracle. Finally, the last game of the week, number 8 Pretty Boys against number 4 Travis. Travis's terrific team, specifically. I'm giving this one to the Pretty Boys. Another upset, but not as drastic as the one before. Just because of the matchups, and specifically Lamar Jackson against the Jets. Lamar should throw that all over the place and not even have to think about it. So I know the Jets made a lot of good moves this year. However, Lamar is just a fantasy wizard. That's all I have for the sections this week. I thought I'd get this out there, see what the reaction to it is. Hopefully have some fun. And again, let this be an education, point of trash talk, a little bit of conversation in the league. So let me know about the trades. I know Travis, there was a little bit of a weighted discussion regarding trades earlier. I thought I put out a fair offer. Apparently I did not. I apologize. And I've seen a few going back and forth. I know I've sent out a few requests and a few offers every once in a while. I know a few others have. So I've been in some conversations, and it sounds good. Keep it up.